If you'd like to be a teacher, it's as simple as the ABCs. We'll teach you what it's all about. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Train Depot. We're focused on the shortage of teachers in South Carolina and a new option to help recruit more teachers. And we're visiting with the president of the American Board for Certification of Teacher Excellence, Dave Saba. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate you being out here.
Great opportunity, of course, for you who were in the Palmetto State just last week, and obviously here even still. But some great things happening last Tuesday, last Thursday, I believe, and even last Saturday.
Yes, we held our first kind of introduction to the program and to help recruit more teachers throughout the state. And we had over 150 people come out that were interested in becoming teachers for South Carolina.
Is that right? More than 150?
Yes.
That is tremendous. That is tremendous.
Yes, and so it's one of our more successful launches, too. I mean, we've had incredible interest. We've run ads. We've done some initial promotions and really found that there are a lot of people out there that want to learn about teaching and want to get into teaching. And although we had only 150 people come out, we had over 1,000 people inquire about the program already, and we've only been here for about a month.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Only a month?
Yes.
So y'all are moving fast.
We are, and it just shows that there are a lot of people out there that want to give back to the community, and one of the great ways to give back is to use your knowledge and help others get that knowledge and become better students.
That's wonderful. Of course, the real focus is K through 12.
It actually, for our program, is in the high schools. So
okay.
we have a K through 12 program. South Carolina, when we worked with the South Carolina government, the legislature, and the South Carolina Department of Education, what we came up with is a customized program for South Carolina, and it just involves the really high needs areas in the math, science, English that are in high school.
Right. I saw the 6 principal focus, and the name of the program is?
It is the Passport to Teaching program through the American Board for Certification of Teacher Excellence.
Okay, the Passport for Teaching.
Yes, and really the program's designed to help career changers move into teaching. So the average age going through our program is 40.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
And over 40% of our teachers that we're certifying are male. So it really was designed when we looked ahead and we saw that there's this huge teacher shortage coming in the United States, that there needed to be not just more programs available, but programs that targeted certain parts of the population that really had that expertise and may now be ready to use that expertise to teach. Mm-hmm. And that's the way the program was designed. And it's designed to really attract people like that because it's a very customized curriculum that we offer that can really help those people not just prepare to teach, but really be successful in their years of teaching.
Mm-hmm. Are you finding that men around the age of 40 are thinking about teaching on a regular basis as an option?
There are, and like I said, the average age is 40. So we're getting a lot of people that, at the end of their corporate career or the end of their engineering career are looking and saying, well, now I want to do something different. And mm-hmm. The way things are now, you don't retire at 60 or 55 anymore. You've still got a lot more years left. And so why not give back and why not use that knowledge to benefit our students? So a lot of them do that. And then we also get a lot of military people. And military people,
good.
If you retire at 20, you're probably still just 45 years old. Mm-hmm. And so we get a lot of military men that are coming out that's saying, okay, I've got this great leadership, I've got a great command presence, I know how to present, I have a great expertise. Let me do that in the school and let me help some kids.
That's tremendous, Dave.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. Real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area? No,
I grew up in Northern Virginia, but when I got out of the military, I was in the Navy for 9 years. Mm-hmm. My first job was with Michelin Tire Corporation over in Lexington, South Carolina.
Is that right? So you were in the Midlands for a few years?
For 3 years, and my second daughter was born in Columbia as well. So
is that right?
When we were looking at states as to target, you kind of go for states that you know. And I knew mm-hmm. a little bit about South Carolina, and as we started to research the teacher shortages that were there, we decided, this is a state that needs some assistance in that area. And then when we came down and met with Dr. Rex and we met with Speaker Harrell, the legislature, we really found out not only is there a shortage, but there's a willingness to take action. And a lot of states don't do that. A lot of states don't have the ability and the force to take action for a problem like this. Mm-hmm. South Carolina does.
You're still working with all states. Every other state around the country? I mean, there's a need, clearly this need must be not just a need in the Palmetto State, but clearly a need around the country.
Oh yeah, it's right now, and the reason for that need, if you look at it, in 1972, 25% of the degrees earned in this country were in education. And because there weren't that many careers available, and really there weren't that many careers available to women, 25% of the people went into education. Today that number's down to 14%.
No.
So you've got two problems. All of these people that went into teaching in 1972 are now retiring in record numbers. And then you don't have as many people going into teaching. And so there has to be a solution that involves getting more and different groups of people into teaching, because kids today are not going into it out of college. So that's when the U.S. Department of Education looked ahead and said, geez, this is getting worse and worse. They're the ones that funded us. So we are a nonprofit funded solely initially by a grant from the U.S. Department of Education, just to help states recruit and certify more teachers, and that's why the program is so cost effective. It doesn't cost anything to the state, doesn't cost anything to the district, and the person going through the program only has to pay a fee of $650.
Is that right? Doesn't cost anything to the state, nothing to the district, a small fee there for the person going through the program.
Correct.
That is tremendous, and that's because of the support from the Department of Education.
Yes.
Right, right.
So they're basically subsidizing everything, and so right now...
How could anyone say no? How could any state say no, Dave? I'm not kidding it.
And you know, people sometimes give South Carolina a bad rap, but I lived here and I knew people who had fairly progressive thinking, actually. And there are a lot of people that just say, well, no, we're comfortable only with the current route that we have, and the current route is definitely needed. But you've got a problem this big, and they're supplying this much.
Share with viewers a little bit of the current route in most states, or even is the current route even still in effect here in South Carolina? They're looking for the opportunity to be with you all in this passport program, but what about the current route?
Well, current route involves either getting your normal teaching degree, or if you've already got a degree in something else, maybe going back and getting a master's degree in education. And we certainly encourage people to go that route. And then South Carolina also has a great route called the PACE program, which is another alternative route, but a little bit more structured, and there's more class time for that. And then our route is really just an independent study route. It's you do it at nights, on weekends, it's online, it's a customized curriculum based upon your needs and your knowledge. So those are kind of the routes, but a lot of people are only comfortable because we've only done it this way, that's the only way to get people. But like I said, that way used to cover all of our teaching needs. Now it's down to here, and yet you've still got a growing population that needs more teachers. And right now, I mean, last school year, South Carolina started the school year short 600 people. 600 teaching positions were still vacant that had to be filled with long-term substitutes. They've started to recruit people from overseas. And yet when we look at the state itself, there are a lot of people that want to go into teaching.
I bet.
They just need, and obviously last week certainly bears that up, that there are a lot of people in South Carolina that are very interested in teaching.
If a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family out of the house, what's the best way to get in touch with you to learn more about the program? Do you all have a website? Is there a good phone number, even a website? What's the preferred way?
The best way is to go to the website, which is abcte.org. So it's our initials, American Board for Certification of Teacher Excellence.org, O-R-G. And if they go there, there's a ton of information on how to get into the program, how to really learn about what's going on, and also look at what's involved in South Carolina. Like I said, we customize this program for each state, so there's a few more things that are involved with South Carolina that South Carolina already had in place that we wanted to make sure that our teachers got as well. So, but abcte.org is definitely the place to go to start. And we do have people there, the phone number's there, if they want to then call us. And I know that's a struggle in many states, is really, how do I become a teacher? And finding that information, people have a hard time really getting through and seeing what that is. They can call, and we've got people that can help answer their questions at any time.
And the website's real simple, so it helps guide to just that. How do I get started?
Yes. Definitely. So and also, there are web seminars, so they can attend a South Carolina web seminar. They can go online, sit at home on their computer, click on it and say, okay, next Wednesday or whenever it's scheduled, they're scheduled periodically throughout the year. They can then watch a very specific web seminar based on South Carolina and what they'll have to do in South Carolina.
That is tremendous, Dave. Again, I just can't imagine why folks wouldn't think about this. If it's covered that way, if there's no cost to the state, really no cost to the district, and of course, course, a small fee there to the folks who want to attend, which is entirely up to their own.
Yeah.
How could, do you have the wherewithal? Do you all have the ability to potentially expand to 50 states?
We do, but we need to do it slowly.
Well, of course,
yeah,
sure.
We'd like to do, you know, because just like last week, we were able to focus all our resources on recruiting for South Carolina.
Great, yes.
And if we have too many states, and we're a small organization of 40 people, we wouldn't be able to do that. And that's definitely one of the advantages that when South Carolina looked at us and said, you know, let's go ahead and do this now. People sometimes struggle with new programs in education. They want to see more data, and we continue to gather some great data. And the initial data said that 95% of the principals that hired our teachers said they were as good as or better than teachers coming through regular routes. So the data's there. South Carolina said, yeah, let's get in on this now so that we can take advantage and get the full focus of ABCTE to help us. And the goal is, and Dr. Rex has made this clear, and Mark Bounds from the South Carolina Department of Education, is together, all of our vacancies are going to be filled next year. So, and it takes people about anywhere from 4 to 6 to 10 months to complete the program.
Okay, yeah, give us a sense for viewers who may be interested in this, who are excited just hearing about this, and may not have the time right now to go online, but just to get an idea of what the program is going to be like and the different options they can take to complete it.
Well, basically what they're going to do is gather their information, make their decision, decide which program is best, and then they're going to enroll with us and pay the $650 fee, and then they're immediately assigned an advisor, and that's a veteran teacher, and we have a couple here in South Carolina, a veteran teacher who's then going to set up their customized curriculum with them. They're going to look at their knowledge and their experience, and from that decide, okay, here's what you're going to work on, and here's how long it's going to take. And the first phase they're going to work on is their professional teaching knowledge phase. And so they're going to look at, we have Prepare to Teach workshops that cover classroom management, setting up assessments, dealing with parents, a very practical video series and classroom series that they do online to get ready for the teaching. And then they have to take our professional teaching knowledge exam. Then from there, they have to demonstrate a thorough mastery of their subject matter. So, you know, I was an engineer back in my day. I have a very good math expertise, but I don't remember everything to teach calculus, and maybe I'm a little weak on my natural logarithms or quadratic equations. So there's a course then that they can take to refresh all that knowledge, so they really master their subject matter, and then they'll take their subject matter exam. So they have 2 exams. They have to demonstrate that they have a bachelor's degree, and they have to pass a background check. At the end of that time, usually, depending on their knowledge and how ready they are, anywhere from 4 to 10 months, at the end of that time, they'll take their exams, they're ready to go, they're certified by us, and that allows them to go apply for a job in South Carolina. And then once they get there, they get an initial license, and they have 3 years to make sure that they go through their principal evaluations. They have to take a praxis pedagogy test in that 3 years, and then they can get their full certification as just like every other teacher in South Carolina.
That is tremendous.
Yeah.
That is tremendous. And you were finding that potentially as many as 40% of the folks setting up are men.
Yes.
That are getting involved in the program.
Yes, and we also tend to attract more minorities, too. If you look at, when we decided and we were set up to focus on shortage areas, there's severe shortages in math and science, and high school in general, but there's also shortages of men. There aren't enough men teachers in there, and you think about role models and that type for students, that we do need more male teachers as well. And then there's not enough minority teachers. If you look at the number or percentage of minority students versus minority teachers, there's a severe disconnect there as well.
I saw those figures, 40% minority students and only 10% teachers.
Right, and we have about 20% now minority teachers going through our program. So we specifically focus on that area as well. So when we view shortages, we view all of the shortages and say, okay, we want to help impact all of these different areas so that we can help strengthen South Carolina schools.
Share with viewers real quick about the founding back. I think you said 2001. What prompted that? Was it the Department of Education saying we need this, or someone approaching the Department of Education with the grant? What was the brainchild behind that?
I think it was a discussion between 2 groups. That a group decided that there is a severe shortage, and we think there might be a way to do this, and we're not getting enough career changers into the classroom. And then the Department of Education said, well, we're putting this requirement that every teacher has to be 100% highly qualified. So we better have some programs to help states actually reach that goal. So together they came together, they formed this organization, and then we kind of went through a couple of changes over the last couple of years where we are today. So initially it was considered a little bit political as an organization. 2 years ago all that changed when a new board came on board. They installed me as the president, and we said, no, we're just here to solve a problem, and that problem is the teacher shortage.
That is tremendous, Dave. And
Yeah.
of course, you've got folks from all over the country I saw involved in the board
Yes.
that are really committed to making a difference there. And obviously, when you all are stepping out, some of the other states that you've gotten involved with are particularly focused on right now. Are there states before South Carolina?
There are. Idaho is one of the first, and
Great.
Pennsylvania.
Good.
And then New Hampshire, Mississippi, Utah, and then Florida is our biggest state. I mean, they need 30,000 teachers a year.
Is that right? The state of Florida?
Yes, and so they're up here recruiting. They're all throughout the country recruiting. If you look at the three big states, Florida, Texas, and California, they're really trying to steal teachers from everywhere. So, if you think of it as kind of a closed system where there was only a finite number of teachers throughout the United States, and you think about these three big states pulling all these teachers, it's no wonder that states like South Carolina are saying, "Wow, we're certainly having trouble filling every position."
Yes, yes, yes. Are you finding ways? Are there some key areas? We talked about the military.
Yeah.
Folks coming out of the military. What a great opportunity to highlight the men and women of our armed services who could think about teaching now after a 20-year career, possibly in the Army or in the Navy or even the Marines.
Yeah, and they actually have a grant. There's a transition to teaching grant that will actually pay for all of the fees for our program.
That's $650 and any other fees.
So
that's tremendous.
if they go through the transition to teaching program, or not the transit, troops to teachers program.
Right, right.
The troops to, there's too many TTTs. There is, if they go through the troops to teachers program, it fully pays for military as they transition out of the military into the civilian world to become a teacher. There's also a spouses to teacher program that's just getting started as well, because if you think about jobs that the spouses of our military can take, teaching is one of them.
Right.
And with our program, since they can get certified anywhere in the world, we actually have 2 women right now in Germany who are working on a program that are going to come back and teach in Pennsylvania. They can get all of their requirements done before they get stationed back in Pennsylvania.
Tremendous.
So it helps them as well, that we can help our spouses as well. So there's 2 big programs that we work well with.
As a graduate of the Naval Academy, had you thought while you were there, even earlier in life, that you would get into education later on or at some point?
I did.
You said engineering was something you had under your belt. Had you thought about education?
Yes, I had. And I originally, as I moved into education, first through Kaplan Test Prep and then through this organization, I had. And since I graduated in '83, a lot of my classmates are thinking about now retiring and getting into teaching.
Right,
And so
right.
I do. I get calls probably every month from somebody saying, hey, are you in my state yet? Because I really want to do this. And we do. It's interesting because you can teach in private schools and charter schools.
Good.
In other areas. So we have certified teachers in almost every state. I think 48 states right now have a certified teacher by us. And we have candidates working all over the world on the program that are looking to come back to here in the United States.
Just 40 folks on staff. That's got some folks spread out. I mean, you're obviously, of course, you're based in the D.C. area.
Yeah.
And down here in the Palmetto State last week and this week and traveling all around. It gets you on the road a good bit.
It does. And it's very exciting, though, because when you find people like the South Carolina legislature and the South Carolina Department of Education that are really focused on looking for ways to solve problems, and you can help them solve problems, it really is a fun job.
For viewers, I think you highlighted that. Just say it again real quick, Dave. What are some of the qualifications that our viewers would need to have to possibly get accepted into the program, assuming they could come up with the $650? What are some of the qualifications they need to have to be received into the program?
They have to have a bachelor's degree. They have to pass a background check. And they have to be ready to study. I mean, they have to dedicate some time to this. Most of our teacher candidates are working on this at nights and on weekends.
So they can do it while
time.
they're continuing their other jobs, right?
Almost all of our candidates are continuing their jobs, whether they're a stay-at-home mom who is now getting ready to go back into the teacher workforce, and it's a program that really works well for them. And a lot of moms think about that. They're saying, okay, my kids are getting older now, but I still want to have a schedule that meets to their schedule.
Sure.
So teaching is a great way for them to say, okay, now it's time to get back in the workforce.
Right.
But yes, it's something you can do while you're still working, while you're still doing whatever you're doing, and then you have to be a very self-starter to say, okay, I'm gonna take this curriculum, I'm going to work through that curriculum, study hard, and then take my exams.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous. There's so many great questions we can get into, and as you think back to some of the informational sessions y'all did last week in South Carolina, give viewers a sense of what it was like, let's say, last Tuesday. I think you were down, was it down in Charleston?
Yes.
Last Tuesday. What happened down there? And you were down there last Tuesday?
I was, and what we do is we do them on the hour, and people come in, and the first session we had about 25, 30 people there. And it was all just like our normal person that comes out. The average age was about 40, and we had about half the people in that room were male. And a lot of the questions were, they were more concerned with, does South Carolina really accept this? And, we've just heard about this, and since it's new, if I call the Department of Education, are they going to really tell me this? And we have. We've worked very strongly with the Department of Ed, and they've worked out some incredible systems to make sure that everything and everybody's trained on the program and knows it's coming. So those were, I think, some of the concerns. And then just, will schools hire them? You obviously don't want to go through a program if the school's not going to hire you. So, and that's something, that sometimes a principal may have plenty of teachers. And so, if you're in a wealthy, affluent suburb, you're going to find it harder because there's probably a waiting list of teachers. But if you're in more of a rural area which struggles to find a math teacher, one of our star math teachers in Dietrich, Idaho, is a farmer, and he was in Dietrich, Idaho. It was an extremely small town, and the math teacher was retiring, and they didn't have anybody else, and they only had one math teacher in the school. They asked him to do it. He saw our program, went through the program, and now Dietrich, Idaho still has a math teacher. So, but without our program and without him, they don't have math. Right. So the same thing around here. If you look for the schools that are really struggling to hire, you're definitely going to find a job. And also, even in some of the other areas, we have some people that say, well, you're 40 years old, you know how to work, you know how to get started, you're going to be faster on the job. So we found a lot of our candidates have a very easy time finding a job. So we've kind of talked them through that. The best thing they can do is start volunteering in their school. Yes. Really get to know students. At the same time, really make sure that teaching's right for them. If you can do a little substitute teaching, make sure that teaching's right for you. At the same time, then you're going to get to know the principal of that school. You're going to get some good experience. You're going to be a little bit more ready and probably have an easier time finding a job. That's a great point. Of course, you're in a difficult position because obviously we're trying to reach the most people, Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, but as you said, it's principally rural areas that may have a real dearth, a real need for teachers. And so reaching out to the rural areas, for instance, even here in our viewing area, in the PD and southeastern North Carolina, but particularly in the PD and down here on the Strand, where there's quite a bit of rural area and I'm sure a dramatic need. So we're excited to have the opportunity to get you in, and of course for our viewers who are truly looking for potentially making a difference and changing their lives. And we find it's better for homegrown. I mean, if you have somebody from this area who gets into teaching as opposed to trying to import somebody from Michigan who's never been down in this area that may or may not like it, it's a lot better, and there's probably a lot more staying power and retention if we can get somebody locally who has that expertise to come into teaching rather than try to maybe import somebody from outside the state. So, and you highlighted that, of course, the South Carolina, the folks moved quickly. They did. And they recognized this. Who are some of the folks you're working with, and that when you go into a state, are you meeting almost always first with the Department of Education, the head of the Secretary of Education, in this instance, Dr. Rex? Yes. We did. We started working with him. At the same time, we met with Speaker Harrell down in Charleston. And then all the education chairs on both the Senate and the House side. And met with the governor's education person. So it's kind of those initial meetings that then formulate, okay, here's the strategy of what we have to do to get accepted in South Carolina. And is there a willingness and is there a shortage? And that's where we really started to see, okay, there's a lot to work with here. And then it's a matter of then crafting a bill together to give the best bill and the best program available for South Carolina, and that's what we did. And then towards the end, just making sure that we can honcho it through and make sure that the legislation got passed, which it did in June, and the governor signed it right away. And then it's come back and sit down with the department and make sure that we can implement this. And I got to tell you, I work with a lot of departments, and once again, this is one of the best departments of education that I've worked with. I mean, it was very clean, it was efficient and sharp, and so it was just really it's a pleasure to work with them. That's great, Dave, to get this done. I'm sure many of the folks in the sessions, the informational sessions there in the Midlands, the Upland, and down in the Low Country, interested in making sure you all are around, are going to be around for a long time. The Department of Education's thoroughly
early behind this? And do you all also ever go out and solicit funds, try to raise dollars to help make sure that a program like this can continue to grow?
Yes, our current grant extends through 2008.
Great.
And then the fees that we generate, because all of our costs have been covered by the U.S. government up to this point,
right.
The fees that we generate cover our future costs, and then we just got a follow-on grant from the Department of Education that really solidifies us for the long term.
Great.
We're also just getting ready to launch a scholarship program to solicit more funds.
I was about to ask if there's anything that folks could do if they couldn't afford the $650.
And we do get people to ask that probably every session, that just say, well, are there scholarships available? So we're just getting ready now to put that together where we'll raise funds and develop that scholarship fund so we can get even more people through it and make sure that money is no object here, that if you've got the expertise and you've got the passion, that money doesn't hold you up from getting into the classroom.
The story of the farmer in Idaho is an exciting one. Any other great nuggets of that as we wrap up, examples that you've seen since its inception early on or since you've been involved?
Yeah, all the way along. We have a woman who actually has two special needs children of her own.
Right.
And she volunteered in the school and worked there forever, and then just decided, well, you know, who better to teach special education than me?
Right.
And she went through the program, and now she's teaching. We don't do special education here, but also one of our first graduates was a Naval Academy graduate who got out of the military and then went to work for McDonnell Douglas as an engineer and just decided, I'm just not cut out for corporate life. And then decided he wanted to go teach math, and he's teaching math in inner city Philadelphia, and he was so good they made him the department chair after 1 year. So now, after just 1 year of teaching, he's the department chair. But he brings all those real-world experiences. When he talks about math problems, he brings in things he worked on at McDonnell Douglas or things he saw in the Navy that he tries to really make math come to life. And that's what, if we're trying to develop the next mathematicians and scientists and engineers in this country, we need people that really bring it to life. And we need everybody that can teach, that really has that passion for kids.
Those are great words. Dave, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Sorry we're running out of time.
No, that's great. It was a great conversation.
Another time. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Dave Saba coming up next. If you don't remember anything else this morning, get this down, abcte.org, abcte.org. Critical, the American Board for Certification of Teacher Excellence. Get it right, abcte.org. There's also a great toll-free number, 877-669-2228. Think about that. 2 million new teachers we needed by 2014 in U.S. schools. 2 million new teachers by 2014. Take the time, learn more about the American Board Certification for Teacher Excellence, abcte.org.